This episode is brought to you by the European Coworking Assembly. We are everything Coworking Europe. If you head to the Coworking Assembly website, you can connect with our World Coworking, European Freelancers Week, Coworking Symposium, Coworking Library, and Coworking Tools.
Hello, folks, and welcome to this week's back to school edition of the European Coworking Assembly podcast. We've been doing a few rewinds because everyone went on holiday and we just have been not as efficient. Jose is back in the studio next week, so am I. And this week I have Vika and Simone on the call to talk about a little, I'm going to call it shindig that we're doing in Porto on the 7th of October. So just for the folks in the European co-working community that don't know who you are, Simone, let's say who you are, what are you known for, what would you like to be known for, and then we'll go to Vika and then we'll get into the story.
Hello, Bernie. Good morning. Thank you for welcoming us here today. It's indeed my earliest meeting since a long time because you said it was a summer break. So now we're back, and I like to be known for putting people first. And I'm very excited to be here today with Vika to announce our event. And I would say I'm some kind of German co-working ambassador in Portugal, and I'm very much interested in exploring all these co-working people and opportunities out there, and hopefully we can make something great together, right, Vika?
Yeah, that's right. I'm Vika from Ukrainian Coworking Association, first of all, and also part of European Coworking Assembly. And yes, today we'll tell you what together with Simone will be doing on 7th of October in Porto.
So folks, this is the bit I need you to have in your brain. There is a link in the show notes, and there is a small but beautifully formed event on Friday the 7th of October in Porto, and it's going to be a discussion. It will start about midday, and we'll chat and do lots of exercises which we'll explain as we go through this podcast. And then there'll be another different type of event in the evening. And then I know when people go to Portugal, their biggest fear is about the food, but we've managed to find somewhere with sardines and good food. It's going to be great. And then a lot of people will end up staying over. A lot of people are coming from Portugal. This is like a Portuguese event, but we're definitely encouraging people from around the co-working community to come and hang out for the day. So where do you want to kick off, folks? Is it like the theme or who should come? What's most interesting to begin with?
We can start from the theme because the theme is very interesting. It's called Native Coworking. And as for who should come, it's actually everybody who's interested in this sphere or already in it. And we'll be having both co-working and co-living speakers joining the event, tell about their stories. And I will also ask Simone to share the day, about the day program, the agenda, because she will be leading it. And then I'll share some points about the evening discussion.
Exactly. I also would say it's for everyone who is genuinely interested in the topic of co-working, but also about how to open the term and how to coming together as humans. And I would say, since we didn't have so many gatherings in person, it's a very nice opportunity to join an event that is actually built by the people and not an event that makes the people, if you know what I mean. So I would say let's come together, let's be social, let's get to know each other, our skills, our dreams, our future. And as Vika already said, we would like to structure this in a day program. So I'm planning on having 2 sessions, more closer co-working sessions, where I would like to discuss important topics, for example, security, but also the energy crisis, and how to build one voice together as a collective, for example, here in the Iberian Island, and how to be more inclusive, of course, how to deal with the co-living movement, and what we could learn from each other, because I truly believe that there were so many people joining the co-working scene in the recent years, and I think they bring another kind of skill set, and I think it's time that we learn from each other.
I really agree with that. I've in the last few years, especially as what lockdown and COVID brought, and I remember Albert from Barcelona saying, I think it was like March 2020, he said already COVID has accelerated the future of work by a decade. And for a lot of people, that was already, how they worked. And so many different things have been introduced. Well, I think they were already there, but they become more and more visible. So in London, there's places like the Workers' League and Oru that are hospitality based, and they have wellness built in, and they have working built in. And the concept of the 15-minute city has become much more mainstream. I think that shot to fame in like April 2020, based upon Carlos Moreno's model. So there's a lot of threads. We did our first. I was involved in the first co-live event in 2018, I think it was, in Paris with WeShare, and co-living is just part of the normal conversation nowadays. And I think that convergence of people that are very enthusiastic and passionate about their industries and the methods and practicalities of it are, I know it's best practice, Vika, but also it's just really exciting. So Vika, what else can you add to that? My little rant there.
Yeah, I wanted to say that we have daily time and daytime, day agenda, and also the evening discussion, where we were asking the busy speakers from Coworking and Coliving who want to share how they're doing it, and to share it with also those people who will be joining us from Portugal, but also hoping outside of Portugal. So, because I do believe that each country has their own not atmosphere, but even if you're doing co-working, but in Ukraine, you're doing it somehow a little bit with different flavor. And I believe each country has this flavor. And to know it, you either have to go and to travel to each of the co-workings in a country, or join the event to meet the founders, the owners, so they can share what source do they have. Because even I don't know it, and I would be really interested to find about it.
Yeah, Pauline from Coworking always talks about everyone has a different recipe for co-working, and when we all get together, we make very good food. And I'm particularly enthusiastic about that analogy. Simone, what are you going to add?
I just wanted to say that it's kind of like, significant that we are like 3 people living in 3 different countries that are not our own native countries, but still we want to host an event that is called Native Coworking, because in the end it's about the people and about the network and not the nationality you have. And for me to find Vika in Porto from Ukraine doing co-working was like a very big surprise, and also a call to go on the lookout for other people that are like, for example, sitting in Montenegro and Serbia and Slovenia. They have like beautiful places there. Also, when we go to not only Galicia, but if we go more towards Valencia, we find like super beautiful co-living movements. And I would like to have you all together and to just have a great time, honestly. That's the most important.
I would also add that people are asking, already people are interested in this event and asking about how can they bring kids. And for me, it's also a very interesting point, because co-working and co-living, I believe it's somehow also about family, when you can co-work even with your kids. Not all spaces have it, but still. And for the event, this also will be an option, not to party away from the family, but to have this opportunity to bring kids to spend their time. They have their time finding something interesting for the older kids, maybe even listening to the program, because I think uniting and introducing kids in our adult life, it's also part of co-working and co-living philosophy. So the event will have an option of that as well.
I love that. We often have children, especially in school holidays, children attending our London Coworking Assembly events. Can we move to the little bit about, the big bit, sorry, about how Vika, the project you're working on in the European Coworking Assembly, where we're going around and looking for people in their countries to help them build, what this event is about in Portugal, to build their assemblies or alliances or associations, whatever you want to call it, federations, as we say in Germany.
Yeah, for sure. But I would say that we're not going around. People are already asking me how to do it for maybe 2 years.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, since I had my first interview at first conference in Coworking Europe, being online, I was sharing the Ukrainian experience of creating the Ukrainian. A girl from Bulgaria asked me how to do it, and I was thinking maybe I don't have so much experience because we were just launching. But as for now, it feels me that I was through, how we call it, water and fire, and can truly share the experience, what we did, how we did it, and how we're doing it now, the Ukrainian Coworking Association. And this gave me passion and power to support other communities in each of the country to create their own co-working associations or co-working assemblies, being part of European Coworking Assembly. So in a nutshell, the project I'm working now, it's finding or connecting with the people, with local people in the countries who don't have co-working assemblies yet, but who feel they need it. They have power, time, resources, interest to do it, and to help them, to take their hand and to help them go through it. Either with launching the event like now in Porto or other things they would like to do. But in general, it looks like that we're launching an event. We create it. We gather everybody from the local community, and then we support by advice or the expertise, creating their own little website on our Coworking Assembly website with the maps of all the coworkings in the country, because I'm a bit freak about it. You don't have the map of all the coworkings in each country, and I want to have one place where you have it and to have it updated. And this is the true face of what is going on inside this country in this coworking industry. So I can talk about it a lot, but in the part of Portugal event is the launch of the bigger project, Portugal Coworking Assembly. That's
great. Simone?
Yes, I want to say I love that idea, and how I came to Vika was I was figuring that here in Portugal we don't have this kind of federation or association. And I found it very sad, and I think it's a phenomenon also of the smaller countries that everybody is kind of worried that the neighbor is doing better, and the atmosphere is for my taste too competitive, and I would love to have it more collaborative. So I was going for the lookout to who I could found it, and when I saw that Vika is trying to, let's say, reactivate the European Coworking Assembly and to maybe make it a bit better this time. I said I'm totally in, because the term Europe I also think is so strong by itself. We really, really need Europe. I don't want to see this beautiful union here falling apart, and so that's why I really, really support Vika's idea. And anything else before we forgot to say?
Just when so I've been in co-working a few years, and then in 2014 I went to Lisbon, and that's where I met Fernando, who's also part of this project we're talking about here. And there's a lot of people I met in 2014 in the Coworking Europe event, and that's helped shape And that's how I got involved eventually with the European Coworking Assembly. And there are lots of fragments of conversations and projects, and raw co-working, the co-working library, the podcast, the co-working symposium, and they're all done by people spread around Europe working on stuff. And some of those people are in academia, researching co-working. There's a lot of the conversation that's come to the front in the last 2 years with COVID and the energy crisis and lockdown and everything like that. That has been, some of those conversations were already happening and being researched at an academic level beforehand. So there's whether it's inside like a political structure or not, just the getting together and like in the Town Square paper, which is called "What If Everyone Was an Entrepreneur?" There's a massive opportunity for people to connect. Like we're just a little micro bit of that in this 7th of October event, and become what I like to call independent economic agents, and build our own economies and build our own communities and be very, very local. I hope that people will just stop getting on a train for an hour, going and sitting in an office, doing their work and coming back again, and start to really connect around that, connecting their local areas and their local communities. And that's always a theme. There's just so many. I think the point of that little segment there was just there's so many people all over Europe that I've met in the last 10 years that have helped shape so many things, ideas, and especially events and co-working spaces. So where's the best place for people to go and find out about how to get involved in this event? Is there anything else people need to know, about practicalities and logistics and things?
Well, I would say in the description of this podcast episode on Eventbrite, on the link we are sharing on LinkedIn, and of course, I would say everyone can reach out to us directly, especially if you're from an area like close to us. So here I'm in Lisbon, Vika is in Porto, you're in Vigo. So yeah, I would say, and Fernando, I don't know where he is, somewhere in the countryside, I would say.
He's on a farm somewhere in a swimming pool, listening to Lou Reed music. Vika, do you want to add anything?
So far, I don't know, but we will be sharing the link where there will be all details. And either if you want to join as a guest or as a speaker or as a partner, please don't hesitate to contact us, because we're in an open book to create it together. Actually, it's not something just 3 or 4 of us creating and cannot be changed. If you want to change something, to add something, it's free to be done.
I go for that. The other last thing I want to add, sometimes in the past, folks, I've looked at events and thought, am I cool enough to go there? Have I got enough co-working experience, and all that kind of stuff? And this is if you're thinking, I don't know if I'm cool enough to go to that event, please message one of us on a social media platform or in WhatsApp or something, can say, am I cool enough? And obviously we'll say yes and help you out to get there. If there's anything you don't understand about, accessibility or how to get there or what's going to happen, just ask us before you, book your ticket. And there is a call every Friday with every Tuesday now, with the European Coworking Assembly. That's a good place to come and find out about these things. And then, usually like any event you see any of us doing, you can just come to, and we'd love to meet in person. It's always, one of the best things in the world, especially after being locked down for 2 years, is meeting people in person, because there's a magic that happens that is hard to achieve online. So to end all that is, if you go to europeanassembly.eu, you'll find this podcast there. There's also the best place to keep up with everything that's going on in all our projects is to be on the weekly Coworking Assembly newsletter, which is events and podcasts and stories from around and projects around everything that's happening in the European co-working community. And that's all. So be careful out there, folks. It is a jungle, and thanks for your time and attention today. Say goodbye, folks.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Bernie. See you soon, Vika.